What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Comic Edition Leader Class Decepticon Straxus, which was a character who was originally specifically designed for the Marvel Comics, and when it does come down to a design, despite being a retool of the Kingdom Galvatron, appears to be incredibly close to how he did appear on the page. Now, as we check out the details, the head sculpt is looking killer, and is surprisingly inspired by a full-blown King Cobra. I also think the brand new chest piece is looking fantastic, very similar to his actual comic book look, and as far as the rest of the robot mode goes, not only has this guy been really well detailed, but he is stacked. With the exception of the forearms, he has mostly been filled in front side to back, and from a weight standpoint is very comparable to the Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. The backpack too has also been completely redesigned, and this time round is packing some inbuilt boosters which I think are looking sick. The only part of this guy which honestly I'm not too crazy about would be these side tank treads. Now, these were originally a part of the Galvatron design, but in the case of this guy, I do think kind of come across as looking a little clunky. Honestly, I was hoping to match the upcoming Emirate Zaran that maybe these could have been detachable, but besides that, this is still a very solid version of Straxus, and it's a pretty banging retool. As far as the Generations mainline release goes, this is by far the best release that we've ever seen for this character. When it comes down to weaponry, this guy does include one Fusion Cannon, which is more so intended for the flying tank mode, but at least in this form you can totally fully integrate this into this guy's backpack to create a full-blown booster. But easily the best out of the bunch, and by far the most iconic, would be his mechanical pickaxe, which when it does come down to detail is looking fantastic. This has also been completely painted front side to back, and unlike some of the swords that were included with the comic edition Grimlock, this has been completely cast out of proper solid plastic, so when it does come down to a display, you don't have to worry about this warping nor bending over time. Now, checking out this guy's posability, the head is on a ball joint so can look up and down slightly and can also be spun side to side. Now, despite officially locking in for robot mode, you can also totally take these shoulder pads and slide these here down, really just to get better access to that head joint. These shoulders can then kick forwards, they can also kick backwards, they will also kick there out to the side, the bicep can spin, although yet again guys, that tank tread does kind of look a little ugly. Due to transformation, the elbow can bend way past 90 and the wrist can rotate. Although unfortunately, unlike some of the more recent Leader Class figures, don't expect any opening hands from this guy, which is a shame because it would have been epic had he been able to crush the skulls of the Autobots. The waist can spin side to side, the hips can kick forwards to that far as well as can kick back to that far. They can then also kick out to the side so aren't hindered in any way at all, and the hip skirts can totally be moved out of the way to accommodate that, which I thought was awesome. The thigh can also spin, the knee can bend there pretty much to 90, and as far as the ankle goes, officially it can bend pretty much to that far, although if you do make use out of the transformation joint, you are most definitely able to get a much deeper range, which I thought was epic. So overall, this guy is most definitely packing in the articulation department, but as I'm sure you guys all know by now, to see the true power of Lord Straxus, now let's put him through the pose test. Now, flying through some comparisons, firstly, we are bringing out this guy's mold mate, the Transformers Kingdom Leader Class Galvatron, and I really do think Straxus may just go down as being one of the best retools that they've made in a very long time. In terms of differences, they changed the head, the chest, the forearms, the skirt, and the front parts of the knees to truly create an entirely different character. Now, for those of you who are also looking forward to the upcoming 86 movie Studio Series Galvatron, you guys are pretty much looking at it, as it is going to be a direct repaint of this exact figure, which I do think is a bit of a shame. I was hoping at the very least for some full-blown articulated hands, but I guess it's not all bad because we did get Straxus from this mold, which I think will go down as being an absolute banger. Next up we have the Studio Series 86 movie Optimus Prime, who I really think makes for a great equivalent to stack up against Straxus. I am aware that in the comic book this guy pretty much took Optimus Prime and split him into two pieces, but I would love to see him make his resurgence resurgence. It would be great to see a comeback for this character, maybe even if he was adapted into live action. Here is how he compares alongside the newly upgraded, the myth, the legend that is the Earthrise Optimus Prime. And as much as I love this mold, I don't think there is any doubt in saying that Straxus could quite simply take this guy and tear him into bits because he appears to be dainty in comparison. Here we have his comic book cover rival, the 86 movie Blaster, and if you have checked out the comic, then you guys will know that there is most definitely some beef between these two. Then finally, the Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Bumblebee, who I'm sorry to say wouldn't stand a chance going up against this guy.
Mercy is not dispensed here, fools, only death.
Now, checking out this guy's transformation, seeing as he is a leader class, he's actually fairly involved. So for the first step, take the fist and slide this inwards. You are then going to make sure that this tab slides into that slot. So, making use out of those double jointed elbows, snap that section there into place. You are then going to spin here to the side, take a hold of the tank tread and slide this here forwards. You then must make sure that you then extend it here outwards, as that tab is now going to slide into the underside of the elbow. Again guys, do the same here for the second side. So take the fist, slide this inwards, and then making use out of those double jointed elbows, ensure that that tab does slide there into that slot. We are now going to spin around here to the side, take a hold of the tank tread, and snap this here into this guy's elbow joint. For the next step, we are then going to spin down here to the base of Straxus, where we are now going to take a hold of the heel spurs and snap these here into the base. So again, do the same here for this side. Then what you're going to do is grab a hold of these back components and spin these here around to the side of the legs. These will actually snap there into place. So again, come around here to this side and do exactly the same. Once you've reached this point, we can now make use out of the thigh joints and spin these here outwards. As I'm sure you guys would then guess, all of this here is going to combine directly down the middle, forming something which should be looking like this. We are now going to grab a hold of the side skirts, hinge these here forwards and upwards. Again, do the same here for the second side. We are then going to spin around here to the back of Straxus, where we are firstly going to take this component and hinge this here backwards. We are then going to proceed to extend this here all of the way up, just like that. We are then going to detach this here all the way down, like this. We are then going to spin back around here to the front, where we are now going to take the arms and angle these here downwards. You are then going to want to extend outwards like that and bring this here all the way down. Again, do the same here for the second side, drop these here downwards and then extend here outwards like that. For the next step, we are then going to spin back around here to the side, where we are going to begin to open up this panel. So, pop this bad boy open, take the chest piece and the head and slide the head all the way inside. You are then going to make sure that you then bring the chest piece back down independently so that the head is now stored within inside this cavity. We can then make sure to close all of that up. You are then going to take these chest pieces and snap these here down again on both sides, which is something that is different in comparison to the Galvatron transformation. For the next step, we are now going to take the entire chest unit, which, check this out guys, has been brilliantly detailed even on the underside, and we are going to make sure that we completely straighten out this hinge joint so that right now it should be looking like this. With that all said and done, we can then begin to lift this section up, because we are now going to come around here to the back, take the hips and fully extend these here backwards like that. Now once you reach to this point, here is where we can take this cylindrical section and pull this here all the way down. Now this backpack is actually going to snap into that slot, so snap that section into place, and on the legs are two pretty big tabs which are now going to very nicely slide into this back piece. With that now all said and done, we can then spin here to the underside, where we are now going to make use out of that slot, which is then going to go into that tab, and then this tab here which is going to slide into that slot. So bring this here down, snap that section there into place, and again guys, do the same here for the second side. So snap that section in there. One part of the transformation that I've always been a huge fan of is how the hip skirts seamlessly integrate into the design. Again, make sure to do the same for the second side. Then what you'll do is spin around here to the back of Straxus, where we are now going to make use out of this transformation joint, bring this here down. Once you reach this point, we can then make use out of the ankle joints, and for one final finishing touch when it does come down to the base transformation, we are then going to fully flip out this additional third stabilizer. For the next step, this is where we can now bring in the accessories, which integrate into the design so nicely. So up first, here we have the mechanical pickaxe. You are going to take the corners and you are going to hinge these here upwards. You must make sure that the tab is facing downwards and not upwards, because that tab is then very nicely going to slide into a slot which is up top. Here is where you are going to bring out the Fusion Cannon, because, as I'm sure you guys all expected, this does become an additional extension which very nicely integrates into the front end of the design. Now, blasting his way onto the battlefield, here we have Straxus. fully transformed into a full-blown Cybertronian battle tank, and appearing to be a great translation from the actual comic book, which did surprise me seeing as the first 2 entries into this subline were only repaints, yet in the case of this guy they appear to have resculpted a lot to give us easily the best version that I think we've so far seen. And when it does come down to the tank mode, as unusual as it does look, it is solid. As we check him out from a bird's eye view, I am in love with the weapon integration. Not only can all of the accessories store on him at one time, but this does become an actual part of the design that does surprisingly match up with the character model. I also think the sculpting throughout is looking sharp, and even as we spin him here to the underside, despite him packing a brand new tread design, this guy should have no problems in swooping down and crumpling over the remains of the dead Autobots. Flying through some tank mode size comparisons, we are yet again bringing back out the Transformers Kingdom Leader Class Galvatron, who already was incredibly close to this guy's actual comic book design, so when it does come down to a retool, really was the perfect mold to base this character off. For some general size comparisons, here is how he stacks up alongside the 86 movie Optimus Prime. So despite this being a commander class, this thing appears to be an absolute unit when transformed into the tank mode, and appears to just get even more formidable, especially when we bring out the myth, the legend that is the Earthrise Optimus Prime. Then finally, the 86 movie Deluxe Class Bumblebee, who again, I'm sorry to say, would be absolutely pulverized by Straxus. If this guy didn't decide to blow him to bits by utilizing that cannon, he could most definitely trample him to death and would leave nothing but a pile of energon and crumpled components in his path. So, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers Comic Edition Straxus. Overall, I think this is a great release and definitely one of the best retools that we've seen in a very long time. They've taken the Transformers Kingdom Galvatron and have quite simply turned that into an entirely different character. The only part of the design which honestly I'm not the biggest fan of would be how large the tank treads are. Now granted, that is mainly due to this guy being a retool, they have to end up in that spot for him to be able to transform. But as mentioned previously, much like the upcoming Emerald Aaron, it would have been amazing had some of the components been detachable so that you really could have cleaned that backpack up. But besides that, this is still without any doubt at all the best mainline Straxus so far released, and even the alternate mode I think is very close to how this guy did appear in the comics. This is without any doubt at all the best figure from this comic edition subline, and I would love to get your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think of Decepticon Straxus? I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, transform and roll out!